What's up everybody, and welcome to another edition of AGR's Pop Culture Reviews. And I've been down this road before with Assassin's Creed. Some of the titles have been really great, some of them not so great, some of them very disappointing from a technical and visual aspect, and I don't know, I was a little bit weary, but I wanted to give this title a really good kind of like review, so that's why it took me so long to finish this. Now, I'm not 100% complete yet, so I have to give that full disclosure, but I'm far enough along in the game where I can give an honest review about it. Save the end, but whatever, I don't really spoil that anyway. And as always, I don't use later footage in the game, I always use early footage because I don't want to spoil anything. In all honesty guys, this game has been a bit of a marathon for me. It took up so much of my time, mostly because I spent hours and hours doing a lot of stuff, because there is a lot to do here. So having said all that, let's take a closer look at Assassin's Creed Origins. Now, almost immediately, one of the things I love about this title is definitely the setting. I'm a bit of a fanatic for Egyptian culture, especially the history of Egypt and mostly the lore. So this is awesome for me. I couldn't wait. I was so excited when I figured out that the Assassin's Creed series was going to go back to ancient Egypt, which is freaking awesome, guys. I also have to say that unlike other protagonists in the series, this one is also the most interesting for me personally. But more than that, the narrative. It's a lot more complex and definitely one of the most emotional stories I've seen in a very long time. Again, no spoilers, but I have to admit, this one kind of threw me off just a little bit, which is a good thing for the series. Similarly, because this is kind of an origin story, so to speak, with everything going on, you don't necessarily have to be a veteran of the series to get right into it. And that is a little bit limited, and I'll speak about that a little bit later. But fortunately, people who have not played the series before can pick this up and really enjoy it without having to be such a fan of the series. Almost immediately, you're thrust into this world in a combat setting, and mostly this serves as a tutorial for you. The tutorials are pretty intuitive, they're not that complicated to learn. I will say this though, there does come a new kind of lock-on mechanic, which can be clumsy at times, and I didn't really use it too much. I found that whenever I locked on an enemy, it always locks on to the one closest to it, and even though I'm aiming for somebody else, it always messed me up, and it's actually more ineffective than it is useful. So if you can avoid the lock-on system, guys, unless you absolutely need it, I wouldn't use it so much. It is a little bit weird. In addition, there's also those little mini QuickTime events which we have seen in the past or the previous titles, but this one is a little bit more glaring, and I imagine that they went with this style in order to appeal to mass audiences since this is an origin story. It works pretty effectively, although you will see it coming from a mile away, so in that way it kind of nerfs the game just a little bit from previous titles and how that combat dynamic worked. The ability to loot your fallen foes is also here, and most importantly, you're able to carry bodies and hide them just like previous Assassin's Creed games, which makes a lot of sense. You can't be leaving bodies all over the place for people to discover, so that's a welcome return. I especially like this really cool mechanic called the Animus Pulse, and essentially what it does is it can find loot for you and hidden passageways to help you along your quest. I also love the torch mechanism. This is pretty cool. I love the fact that you can switch in between them to light your path if you're in dark areas, which is always a good thing. Now, there are always two types of players in gaming, especially open world games. Those are the purists that don't like to fast travel and basically like to hard travel everywhere, and the cool thing about it is that in this game you get to hard travel in a camel, which is freaking awesome. What I love about this is that the scenery, just the setting that you're in, is absolutely gorgeous, so it really behooves you and motivates you to want to hard travel rather than fast travel everywhere. And you're gonna see it's very cinematic, and in that respect it makes this game extremely thematic and just one of the coolest things about Assassin's Creed Origins. Now, ask any gamer and he'll tell you any welcome new thing or anything that they really love is definitely silent takedowns and being able to take down your enemies and dispatch them without anybody finding out, basically the stealth mechanic. And it also makes a return here. You are an assassin after all. The only problem that I have with this mechanic is that it is extremely stupid and very forgiving. I mean, just take a look at that. My avatar ran by one of the victims and he didn't react to him. So that's the only problem I have with it, but it is still pretty cool, although somewhat dumbed down, so to speak. Now, one of the things that I also didn't like about this game is the freaking menus. My god, these menus are not only clumsy and at times can be very imposing, but also they're very inconsistent, whether or not you use the right and left buttons, or if you have to use the left thumbstick and the right thumbstick. I mean, it's so freaking sloppy. I mean, I think they could have done this a little bit better. And for those of you who are newcomers to the series, I mean, look at that. It's as complicated as the Animus itself. There is certainly a steep learning curve for all of these menus, but eventually after you get into the game, maybe like 10, 12 plus hours, you will master it. But still, from the outset, it is such a pain in the ass. Now, I'm not just nitpicking here, which is why I wondered from a design standpoint why that was so complicated, and yet the quest log is so freaking intuitive. I love what they did here. Not only are the quests easy to find and easy to toggle through, but they also give you some very definitive information as to what level you should be in terms of suggestions before you even attempt these quests, so you don't get your ass handed to you, which is very refined, and I like what they did here. Now, one gaming mechanic that I absolutely love is your protagonist's companion, Senu. Senu is an eagle that, apart from being a really great companion and really elegant, can also help you along with your quests. This thing is cool. It is literally your eye in the sky, and it can track several things. Targets, various other raw materials you need to upgrade your weapons and armor, and most importantly, it can loiter and basically just hover over a target to really help you out and hone what you're looking for. This is one of the coolest components of this game, and I absolutely love that I had Senu as a companion this time in Assassin's Creed Origin. Just really well done, guys. Now, there's also something that Assassin's Creed does to help the players if you're really one of those ones who like to hard travel. It may seem like a small thing, but if you're 18, 20 hours into a game and you've been playing for 5 hours, this is really a welcome sight. And it's the ability to kind of put your avatar on autopilot in between targets that you want to go or places of interest. It's awesome. And I have to admit, there were some times where I didn't want to control my avatar, or I wanted to take a break, and I would just hit the triangle button and it would automatically navigate to my next position or my next target, which was awesome, guys. I really like this mechanic. One of the things that makes Assassin's Creed kind of iconic is being able to climb up to a rooftop and get that bird's eye view of the map or the area. And this makes a return also. It's actually pretty cool. Again, given the setting, it's just nice that you can do this in ancient Egypt. And again, the animations, the fluidity of it, and being able to synchronize your character with the rest of the map is just freaking awesome, guys. I didn't realize how much I missed this, having skipped a couple of the Assassin's Creed games in the past because I wasn't so interested. But I gotta tell you guys, every time I did this, it was the coolest thing ever. And of course, you end that entire sequence by throwing yourself swan diving into a barrel of hay, which is always a freaking cool thing. And of course, love it or hate it, you do have sequences when you come out of the Animus, you get out of ancient Egypt. I know at times it has been a pain in the ass, especially in the original Assassin's Creed. It really took me out of the moment and out of the ambiance, and sometimes it does that here. I will say this though, that this sequence outside of the Animus is a lot more interesting than previous titles, and I was actually more interested in this character than other previous titles, so it's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, again, because of the setting, it makes it very unique, and I actually liked it. It wasn't that bad. If I sound like I'm being very cryptic with these sequences, it's again because I don't want to spoil anything, but they are pretty interesting overall. You'll see what I'm talking about once you get there. Ultimately though, one of the real strengths about Assassin's Creed Origins is the sheer number and sheer volume of things that there are to do, especially in the variety of quests. I mean, there's a lot of things to do, it's going to consume a lot of your time, and overall, I have to say I'm very impressed with this Assassin's Creed. That coupled with the true RPG elements that you haven't really seen too much of in previous games makes this a very unique experience. And trust me guys, I must really have liked this game because I've been severely disappointed in the past with other Assassin's Creed games, so much so that I kind of skipped especially Assassin's Creed Unity. So there you have it. Now before I go, I just want to send a special shout out to the folks over at Ubisoft for sending this wonderful piece over for review. Alright everybody, so that's my official review on Assassin's Creed Origins. As always, I thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next AGR's Pop Culture Reviews.